Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Lazy Actor, the podcast that goes through all the great acting books in history, takes out all the key information so you don't have to because you are an actor and you are lazy. You are too busy reorganizing your clothes and deciding what you want to donate to charity. I know you. So this is episode, I can't remember, 9 or 10, but we are covering Guidepost 10 Place, and with us today is veteran actor, the lovely Jennifer Vallance. Jennifer, how are you?
Nice to meet you all.
She is an actor, and you may have noticed by the accent that Jennifer is from Boston, New York, and Chicago, all combined in one. No, I'm just kidding. She is. One of the reasons we brought Jen in is not just because she's a great actor, but also because she has a lot of time, because as an actor, you spend most of your time unemployed. Hence why we meet all the time. Right, Jen? Speak for yourself? Okay, sure. All right. But also, Jennifer is a voice coach, and she's an expert in the British accent because she, by chance, happens to be English. So I thought I would surprise us a little bit today. Now, before I tell you about the surprise, I first have to always introduce my partner in crime, my life partner in sound.
Oh, dear.
The mighty, from Radio Studios, the mighty Tim McClarty. Tim McClarty, how you doing, my friend?
I am great. I'm great. Your life partner in sound. Let me just let that sink in.
I love the look of your studio, Tim. It's very nice. I love the painted brick and.
Oh, thank you.
That's a good looking studio, Tim. He's got a voice like silk, is what Tim does. And last time we were here, we had the mighty Dan Wilmot, who we all know, member of the Actors Place.
Sorry to interrupt. I saw him in American Gods last night. He was awesome.
Did you see him in American Gods? I haven't checked it out yet. Yeah. Dan has been on a tear recently. I think this is a good sign. People come on the Lazy Actor podcast and then they work. So, Jen, you're welcome in advance. Where's my cut? So last time when we were here with Dan, I challenged them to a voice-off. Because Dan is a voice actor, and Tim, as you will all know from the intro, that's Tim, is also a voice actor. So I thought I would yet again put Tim on the spot with, that's right, my friend, with the mighty Jennifer Vallance. And here's what we're going to do, everybody.
How do I compete with a beautiful, refined British accent? Come on, this is
no. First of all, trust me, you're going to like it. Maybe. Here's what's going to happen.
This is bringing a knife to a gunfight here.
So here's what's going to happen. In a minute, I'm going to share an excerpt from a British film. Okay?
Oh, in the chat?
In the chat. Now, okay. You and Tim will act it out in two ways. One, with generic North American accent. So Jennifer will have to give us her best generic North American accent. Tim, you got it already. But then we're going to do it again. And this time with your best, any kind of British accent.
I love doing it again.
Oh, my God. And viewership just rose up, as well as other things. Say that one more time for the people. Jennifer, woo.
You've always got to do it again.
Well, she's practicing her non-British accent.
Do we have a...
No one listens to this. It's okay.
Do we have a for adults in our thing? Do we have a for adults thing in our...
We will next time we submit.
Hang on. We're talking about the scene, right? I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Where is it?
Well, I was distracted, and if you could just help me just a moment, please. Okay? So the first one we are going to do, we're going to have Jen back next week. So for this first one, we're going to go period. We're going to go ancient Rome, because for some reason, everyone in ancient Rome was British. But I do get it, because it does definitely sound, when you hear people who are doing like in ancient Rome and they're just like, but why? It always sounds a little off. The British seems to have it down packed. Okay, so here it is. You should see it in the chat. This is making excellent audio.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a scene between Ilithia and Spartacus.
Okay.
First time around, you are going to go through the scene. Feel free to cut and paste it, put it somewhere that you can see it well. The first time around, you're going to go through the scene, and you're going to do it with your best generic American accent. Your best generic American accent. All right?
All right.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, actors acting That's what we should we call this segment? Actors acting on the spot. Whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right, so we're doing it together, and I start with Spartacus and then back and forth?
Yes, Tim, exactly.
Yes, Tim. Okay.
Yes, Tim.
All right.
Yes, Tim. Let me explain it one more time.
I think I got it.
Tim. This is for the people. Tim,
Mm-hmm.
I've posted a scene. You will play the part of Spartacus. Jennifer Vallance will play the part of Ilithia.
Do the other one.
Ilithia. You will pretend to be these people. Dare I say you will act to the best of your ability. Any comments, questions?
No.
Excellent. Here we go. And action.
Sarah and I often spoke of children. A family we were going to have now forever denied me, as I now deny Glaber of his.
The child is yours.
You lie!
Would then my tongue make false noise? It yet speaks bitter truth. Monthly blood ceased after you came to me in Battis's villa. Lucretia had promised. What's it? Quick. A cruel jest. Crixus, a cruel jest. 'Tis a memory that lingers. Is it not? Of that night, of you inside me.
Yes, as does memory of my hands around your throat.
Ooh, not bad.
Ooh.
Tim, you came across a little quiet. I don't know if that's a level thing, just FYI. But that was really good.
Okay.
That was really good. So that was, and congratulations, both of you. I forgot to mention that there's a lot of names. So well done. Now,
Crixus.
Ahead, so
now
a real
the audience will decide, because we're going to do the scene again. And this time, we're going to hear your best British accents. Jennifer, just do what you can. Do your best.
Can I use any British accent, though?
I feel like
shouldn't have asked.
you shouldn't have asked. I'm going to say
go.
talk with your normal English accent.
I want to do another one. Okay, I'm ready.
We'll do it. We may do it a third time if we'll see. Okay. So, Tim, your best British accent. Pick anyone you want. And
All right.
action.
Sarah and I often spoke of children. The family we were going to have now forever denied me, as I now deny Glaber of his.
The child is yours.
You lie!
Would then my tongue make false noise? It yet speaks bitter truth. Monthly blood ceased after you came into me, Battis's villa. Lucretia had promised Cratius a cruel jest. 'Tis a memory that lingers, is it not, of that night, of you inside me?
Yes, as does memory of my hands around your throat.
Okay. We went off the rails there a little bit. First of all, Jennifer Vallance, that is not your normal accent. That was your Cockney. And then we went down, and then Tim started British and then went Cockney too. Okay. Hey, this is
Spartacus
Big one.
has a multiple personality. I love it.
all right.
Just,
So let's do this one more time. This time, Jennifer, I want you to use your regular accent. We know you mastered the Cockney. We got Tim's Cockney. And now we're going to see, I'm going to give Tim, I want you to do your best sort of, let's say, like highbrow British.
Oh,
Just like how Jen sounds normally.
yes, of course.
All right. And action.
Sarah and I often spoke of children. The family we were going to have now forever denied me, as I now deny Glaber of his.
the child is yours.
You lie!
Would then my tongue make false noise? It yet speaks bitter truth. Monthly blood ceased after you came to me in Battis's villa. Lucretia had promised Crixus a cruel jest. 'Tis a memory that lingers, is it not, of that night, of you inside me?
Yes, as does memory of my hands around your throat.
Dun, 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 dun. Well done. Bravo. And that has been Actors Acting on the Spot. I'm not sure if that's
We're
the
not
name
gonna
we'll keep, Tim, but I think that was great.
It's a fun contest.
That's right.
I was really tempted to do Kirk Douglas there, but I
Kirk
spared him.
Douglas. As
Yeah.
Douglas Spartacus. Interesting.
That's right. That's right.
And Tim, I'd like to offer you my special friends rate of accent.
That's right. Jen, why don't you do a quick plug? Quick plug before we'll put it in the show notes or whatever. But you have a
Well, I
website?
do. I don't have a website.
Do you have a
No.
Facebook page
Yes, I do. I
for your
have a
business?
Facebook under my own name,
All right.
and I also have an email, which I don't know if we can put it in the notes or something. jennyfantastic@live.com.
Is
But
it
I
Jenny
do.
with an I or Jenny with a Y?
With a Y. With a Y.
Jenny with a Y, fantastic at gmail.com?
At live.com.
At
live.
live.
.com.
Okay.
So I do teach various British accents, and it's really good if you don't really think you have one already, because with Tim, I thought you did a valiant job, but sometimes it's hard to
listen how belittling that sounds. Listen, it's
I didn't mean it. I
that's
meant
the
it.
equivalent of just giving you a little pat on the head there. Hey, Tim.
You know what, Jen, I do want to talk to you about that. Maybe we could do a little swapperoo and I can help you with your website, because I do know that my British accent always wanders into Australian.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that there are so many different variations on a proper British accent. So I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, it's all fixable. But I do a lot more of actor coaching for auditions or just for scenes that people might want to put on tape or just practice.
Good.
And sometimes the accent work comes into that too. I mean, it's all very coaching is coaching. It's being a good listener. I also teach singing, and I think a lot of my skill comes from my years of singing training, where it's really ear training. It's being able to hear. So if I can hear what other people are doing and kind of thinking through their work, then I can reflect back and ask a lot of questions. But it's all
Excellent.
fun. I love it. I love all of this work. So,
Well, speaking of none of that, let's get into it. We're going to make sure that we plug Jen again at the end.
Yes.
But let's see how well your ear has been attuned to our first topic of the day, the guidepost of place. Now, as we've been going through this book, Jen, essentially what I've noticed is that, first of all, I love the book. It's the first staffing book I ever read. But what I've noticed is it almost feels like he's struggling for content a little bit. The chapters start becoming like 1 or 2 pages long with like huge like made up conversations between him and actors. I'm going to say they're made up. I'm pretty sure they're made up. But they're great and they're illustrative. This was an example of a chapter that was very small, but I thought it should have been bigger because I thought it's super important, because the idea of place and location is so important. Now, if you had to summarize this chapter in a sentence or two, what would you say?
I would say the important thing is to know how you feel or your opinion about the place.
Ooh, I like that. I was going to say place matters only if it means something. Yeah, and I think that's overlapping.
How can it not mean something?
Huh?
How can it not mean something? I mean, if you walk in...
This is what you and I understand intuitively, because we've been training, we've been acting for a long time. Yeah. You know what I mean? But for many people, when you ask them about location, they'll just say, like, my house. And
I thought his example in the book was very good, where he was talking about, so it's your house, it's your house that you've bought and you've decorated and you love it, and then but it's the same place when your lover, when your husband or wife has left you. How do you then feel about the same place that you loved it yesterday, and then today everything makes you feel sick? That cup that she drank out of, that the sheets.
So I think what you're getting at is when you look in the book, he actually says the most important element is how you feel about the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's inside, outside, you've never been there before. We have opinions about everything that we do and hear and see in our lives. And as an actor, if you cut all that off, the audience may not see what you're thinking, but they'll see that you're a 3-dimensional person.
Actually, that's a nice one that you jump into, because he actually says in this chapter, and we'll break it down in terms of his process. But one of the things he says in his chapter is, you don't have to have the auditors, the other actor, the person who's reading the other lines if you're auditioning. They don't have to see what you're seeing. What's important is that you are seeing something and that you feel something about it. In fact,
Yeah.
let's go to the first part of what he says. So first
And
thing,
actually, more to that very specific point, let's say that you were on a set with this and you are looking at the same chairs, you're still not going to have the same opinion about them.
yeah, exactly. So here,
And as you also mentioned, with seasoned actors, we just kind of get on with the job sometimes, and we do all that in a without really having to break it down. But I think when you're new to it, that it's something really important to consider.
yeah,
Yes,
and
Yvonne, do you want to speak? Please go ahead.
maybe, yeah.
Oh, I have to show you something about this book, though.
Okay, sure. Go ahead,
In case
Jen.
anyone, in case anyone listening needs a bathroom break, you can go now. In this book, I ran into Yvonne once at a commercial audition. I don't know if you remember this, down at Jigsaw.
Oh yeah.
And,
I remember that.
and I used to carry this book around in my purse all the time because it's the kind of book you can kind of pick up on the subway for 10
It
minutes
is
and read.
referencey. Yeah, you can use it as a reference.
And my bookmark is this beautiful little
Oh my
photo.
God.
Because for commercial auditions, they take your picture and they
And it's
slap
always
that on.
unflattering. It's always like a Polaroid.
And they made some kind of mistake with it, and so he had a spare one, and he gave it to me. And so every time I look in this book, out falls Yvonne's little picture.
Well, you're
Just
welcome.
yeah.
Many happy, joyful moments staring at that.
It's like carrying around your ultrasound picture with you. It's like, oh, remember that day?
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. So let's go
yeah.
back. And let's go back to the book, and let's go back to the idea of reference. And here's what the first thing that he talks about. He says, first of all, it's up to the actor to create a place. And what do you think about this? Because he says that this is the starting point. This is not the end point. This first is find a place that you know well. And I think this is part of the, because he's very much a theater guy. He did do a audition. He was a casting director for film and television, but mainly for theater. And so many plays seem to have that archetype of like in a living room. Do you know what I mean? And the whole scene takes place in a living room. So he says, always pick a place you know, that you know really well, a real place from your actual life. And certainly that only applies when you're in situations like that's a real place. What do you think about that as a starting point? And let's focus only on potentially you're acting or doing auditions in like realistic places that you are all the time, like living rooms and kitchens and stuff.
So are you referring to it in theater or for TV and film?
Both.
Or both? Okay, because I mean, I have used a lot of sensory work before, and I do find that by engaging as much of the senses and as much past experiences as possible, but I think because I'm the kind of person who's aware of my senses a lot in my everyday life, it's very easy to kind of observe them, like a little person on my own shoulder. Smells. I mean, as soon as you said living room, I could smell this dusty furniture and rugs on the floor. I had
because you
an
live,
image.
of course, in poverty because you're an actor. So
No, I mean,
it's not my words,
that
everyone. She literally said she could smell the dust and the filth. Maybe not filth. I'm throwing. That's what I. So when I imagine Jen's place, I imagine like like a cardboard box with like not even a flat screen, like an old TV kind of thing, but it's a really little one, and there's dust everywhere, and there's like a broken rag that covers the window. And then I use that in my performances. Every time someone says, I want you to pretend you're in a place that you really want to be, I pretend to be in Jennifer's impoverished living room.
I can't actually smell the dust right now, but when you mentioned living room, the image of the living room that came up was one with old, dusty, stuffed furniture. And I mean, I was on set a few months ago. We were actually using a different TV series' set for this one day of shooting, and it was full of stuff like that.
And so it helped, thinking about your living room kind of helped you to kind of have an opinion about the space you were in when you were acting.
Well, when I was on the set, I just had to look around. I didn't have to imagine or smell it because it did have a dusty smell. And I looked at the wallpaper on the walls, and it was a house actually outside in the field that had been constructed for a TV show. And it was so detailed. But I remember at one point when I was waiting, looking at the wallpaper, looking at how moldy it was and thinking, did they paint that mold on, or is it just really moldy in here?
And so for
I never found out the answer.
So I'm sure they painted it, right?
I don't know.
Oh, you never found? Oh, I assume they found. So for all our
Field.
struggling actors who are kind of learning, the first step, if it's possible, is to identify. And this is auditioning is almost harder than acting on set because when you're acting on set, it can be so real that you don't have to pretend so much. Like you can sincerely react to things like you were. When we are auditioning, if it's possible and you're in a living room, imagine a living room you know well. If it helps you, like don't just say a living room. Imagine like you being in your parents' living room, you being in a living room of an ex, you being in your personal living room, a living room you lived in when you were a kid. All of these are different living rooms that can help you kind of create a performance because you will feel a certain way. Sometimes it's nostalgia, sometimes it's hate. Now, here's some, this is the struggle I have all the time when we are running our actors meetup. So Michael Shurtleff says, I constantly see actors struggle with the rhythm and emotional meaning of the scene because they fail to use the place. So like, oh,
Right.
we're in my living room. Well, how does this is my one of my old acting teachers used to say, how does that help? And they're like, what do you mean? It has to be in a kitchen. It says it's in a kitchen. It's like, but what kitchen? Whose kitchen? Why the kitchen? There's so many parts to a place. And it's true that a lot of actors struggle with figuring out a location and going that next level of how does that location help? Like, for example, in Jen's impoverished, horrible place. She's just, for anyone who's watching on YouTube, this is probably a friend's place because, she doesn't have electricity yet.
I'm in my boudoir.
I'm in your boudoir.
Only because
There you
it
go,
creates
Jen.
a nice kind of flat sound. I have never done filming in my boudoir before. Well, anyway.
So tell me. So let's go to
No,
the
I
audition
find.
now. Let's go to the audition
Well,
now.
hang on, you asked me a question. I'd like to answer.
Yes, go ahead.
So, in truth, in our classes, I remember a scene that I was doing with another couple of actors, and it was in the kitchen of someone else's place at a party, and I felt that I was leaning up against the fridge, and I could feel all those little plastic letters that people have on their fridges, and I was sensing that I was moving their photographs around. I was leaning against a wall, but I felt that I was leaning against the fridge because it was a really important for me to know what that feels like and now how I would stand. But I don't put a lot of thought. It just comes very quickly when you're practiced at it.
It
But
comes
it
very
does.
quickly when you've been practicing at it.
Yeah.
So
So
as
let's say, for example, that you're in a scene that's outside, which is harder when you're in a building or I'm in my living room doing a self tape. So I remember when I did a couple of years ago where it was like a mountainous walk with a lot of people in this scene,
Mhm.
and so for me there were bugs flying around, and I felt one bite me,
Mm.
and I moved and watched it fly away during the scene. I didn't do it to be to help me get cast, but it was a
Mm.
scene where I was waiting where there are a lot of lines, but I'm outside in the woods, and to me it made perfect sense that I would feel that bug and I didn't want to be bitten. And so, I can't have the people watching thinking, oh, she's looking at the mountains now. I could see them. I
Yeah.
could feel the way that the air moves when you're high up somewhere, that kind of updraft of the air.
Well, that
And that
actually brings
affected me.
us. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And that did affect the way that I felt in the scene.
And it helped your delivery. Here's another excerpt. When you are outdoors sitting on the stoop of a building, it's different from being in your living room. Yet, if you watch most actors read, you never know where they are because they don't know. And I think what Jen you've given us is a very good example of over time this becomes reflexive, but at first you have to work at it, is creating your own internal reality because that will affect your performance. So it's not enough to say kitchen, but it's what you got to be. I'm leaning against someone's fridge and I can feel the little things on, like kind of leaning, and I'm thinking about maybe not I hope I don't knock any of these down if I push off of it too fast, I'll give you
Or
an
maybe you notice it, you think, oh, well, I don't care
yeah.
because they're not mine.
And that
And
both
yeah.
are equally valid and both would give you different performances. I will tell you
Yeah.
one small story where I was doing a scene from Taxi, There's a scene where they're in a diner and Jodie Foster and Robert De Niro are sitting there and they're just talking. He's trying to talk to her about like her life choices. Not to say this was me in like one of my first acting classes, but I remember, as we're in the scene, like a very loud bus screech came down, and I was just like, Jesus, this. But the other actor didn't stop, and then I was like this, and I came back, and the teacher cut it. It's like, do you see how you reacted to that? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that would happen in the real world, and I was like, yeah. He's like, you haven't done that in the first like 20 times you've done it. That is an example of a place giving you something to work with. A busy cafe, if it's busy cafe, I wouldn't just sit here and stare at Jen the whole time, right? Things would be happening. So that affects the delivery and the tone. Do you guys remember cafes?
You'd be looking at everyone going by.
Yeah. Did someone's phone just go ding? Did somebody's phone just go ding?
Not mine.
Not mine.
It was obviously yours, Ivan.
I don't own phones.
Oh my God.
The struggle over place is as important undertone to the entire relationship in the play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes the place or the can almost be a character in something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the same place two entirely different emotional attitudes. So there's another thing that you can do if you're ever rehearsing, and especially with an actor. Like so suppose like one day, if I'm like really desperate to just act and I just can't find anyone to work with, I'll call Jen up, and Jen and I will work on a scene, and then just the look Jen just gave me, Jen just went like,
I'm not even
going to respond. But suppose, and Jen, you're an amazing actor. I've been trying to work with you. She's been rejecting me, by the way, Tim. I've sent her a few scenes that I wanted to do with her.
No, we're doing that soon. We are in a pandemic. Just we're going to do it soon.
You see that? You should be an agent. The way you just placated me. You should be an agent. Hey, don't worry. We're going to get to that. It's in the works right now.
No, I mean it though.
But having a scene and rehearsing with an actor and having two different opinions about the location is another way that as an actor you can draw things and play from. So you're not just thinking about lines or how you feel about the other person, thinking about how you feel about the place you're in. Place gives them a lot to play with. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Does everybody have a favorite cup that you drink out of?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or a favorite pillowcase, or and then when you go to a hotel or stay at someone's house, that it's not there, and then you look at all their cups and you're like, do you not have any special fucking cups in this?
Yeah. When you're at those parties, you just go through people's stuff. Right, Jen?
Right.
Medicine cabinet.
Fridge.
So I want to talk a little bit and I really want to clarify this idea for everyone. Location is not enough. The location has to help you. You have to have an opinion about the location. As Jen was saying, you have to almost the location in some places and in some movies and TV shows and plays is a character on its own.
Yeah.
And let's think.
I had a couple of I know one of your things about this book, and I totally agree with you that a lot of the examples are a little bit dated. So I was thinking about a couple of examples of about place.
Yeah.
So one of them was I watched a movie recently called Pieces of a Woman on Netflix. It's so good, and there are spoilers in this. I'm sorry, I can't make the point without it being a spoiler, but it's something that's revealed at the beginning of the film anyway. But she's in the middle of labor in her home.
Opposite of
it's a beautiful home, and you can see all the work. You can get a sense of everything that they've been through to create this beautiful place. They're having a baby, and something goes wrong. The baby dies, and then you can feel the way she feels about this place now. Everything reminds her of this, one of life's hugest tragedies. It was so well done. It's such a great film. Please see it if you haven't yet.
That's a great example of how an actor making a decision. I always imagine if they were in the audition, because the book is audition, but this is acting technique as well. And when you're in the audition, if you start a scene with an opinion about a place, and then you end the scene with a different opinion about a place, sometimes that can be all you need to help understand what's happening. What's your other?
Yeah, and imagine having gone through a situation like that, which could be anything, any loss in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and then how it changed the way you feel about everything around you. Even just the air, the sunshine,
You know what that just made
everything
me think of?
reminds you of that loss.
And I've used this sometimes in auditions whenever there's like drinking involved, like not alcohol, but just like a cup. When I have my favorite cup. That was a visual
Uh-huh.
joke for all the podcast listeners.
I would say that was a real radio moment.
That's right.
It's called dead air.
So when I got mono when in my 2021, I got mono, and it was so horrible. It was such a brutal disease or illness. And one of the side effects of mono is a brutal sore throat. And for like a month and a half, my go-to was mint tea. The sight and smell and the thought of mint tea to this day brings out all my negative feelings towards mono. And it's now focused on mint tea. So I've been in auditions where someone hands me something to drink, and I don't, it's not big, it's barely visible, but I just think this is mint tea. And right away I just react to it differently. And although that's object work, that
Yeah.
also applies to place.
Yeah, I think it applies to everything in our lives. And then as a completely different thing, because I was thinking about all the complications of why you would decide to give birth at home, and it's because you love your place so much and you want to associate everything together, and the opposite happened.
And
So
then your
then,
home becomes a place where you no longer are comfortable. And then every time you come in, even if no one sees it and you feel something different, and you know what really good acting is? People always say, oh my God, that moment. It's always like the way they kind of went and touched their lip or blinked for a second. Like these little tiny moments, your opinion towards the place that you're in, and you touch something and it automatically you feel a sense of revulsion. Even if you don't react and you feel it, that's a performance.
and also being in your own home. So when her midwife arrived, even though she's in the middle of labor,
Yeah.
she's still hosting. She's still it's still her place and someone is coming in. Whereas a contrasting one would be on my first actual TV thing that I did was on Designated Survivor. I had a
Humble brag.
day,
Beautiful
couple
humble
of
brag.
really short scenes. And here I am.
Hold on, Jen. I know I'm totally distracting you. Just for the viewing audience, I think we should plug it because it's awesome that you were on Designated Survivor. That's awesome. Do you remember what episode and season it was for all the people?
I don't. I know it's UK representative. So I was part of a big team.
Why did they choose you for that?
I don't know. It's a fluke. So we're all around this table, and it was my first day on set. So I mean, I was really nervous, but it totally worked for the role because she wasn't nervous as part of her job, but she's in the White House in another country, and it's a very important meeting, and she's not hosting this one like the woman who had the baby in her home. She was the host of that house. I was visiting another country, and Kiefer-Sutherland, as the president, was the host. So it would make sense that I would be a bit distracted because I'd be sitting at this table thinking, the people that have sat at this table. And I was thinking that. I mean, you're surrounded by 60 crew members and you're like, oh, there's so many people here. It was so perfect. And when I look at my performance in that, I'm thinking how it looks very appropriate to what it was, because I almost wanted to feel the table but not have anyone see. And I could just imagine that character, the UK representative, feeling the table from the underneath. Like she just wanted to, like, oh, so many presidents have sat here. And
so that's that's a beautiful example, Jen. And just so everyone knows, the episode is called Family Ties, and it was season 2, episode 7. Through the magic of the internet, season 2, episode 7. Check out Jennifer Vallance. And that's another beautiful example. And I think I want to almost end on that note, because that's a great example of how location and feeling creative visceral reactions. Before we finish off, I want us to very point for me, and I'm going to do what Michael Shurtleff did. So Michael Shurtleff ends the chapter with answering these basically strategic questions. I want Jen to do the same thing. I'm going to go through Michael. Jen, you're going to do it. And then I'll see if I can add a couple of more the way I do it, so that the actors listening have 3 different ways that they can help to create a place that will help a performance. So Michael Shurtleff says, questions for the actor to ask and, answer. Or instead of answer, dare I say, explore.
Ooh.
Jen, can you say explore?
Explore.
Ooh, explore. Tim, you want to take a stab at it?
I was being careful because the mic's very close.
Explore.
Explore.
Ooh. Good job.
This season on Adventures, we explore. It's getting it's getting intense. Ooh, that's some nice silence we got there. Good. And Jen shaking her head in disapproval. Okay, good. So Michael Shurtleff says, questions for the actor to ask, and I add questions for you to ask and explore. Don't just answer, explore. Where does this take place? How can I get mileage out of using the place? This is such an awkward sentence. How can I get mileage out of using the place in creating what I'm fighting for in this relationship?
Right.
How
So
do you use
that was like, let's say it was a really hot and humid day and you're walking in the forest and you're trying to save a relationship with someone that wants to walk away. I would know that the sweatiness of the situation would help feed my kind of desperation of trying to save this thing.
Yeah. And trying to talk with someone while you're physically uncomfortable. Yeah, good job. Geographical literal place isn't important, except as to what emotional issues it can be put by the actor. Be put by the actor. That's an awkward sentence. So that's what Michael Shurtleff says. Jen, if you were going to give actors a couple of key questions to answer, a couple of like bullet points to say like this is how you help find a place, what do you think what would you advise?
Go through all of your senses. What am I smelling? Does that help? What am I seeing? I mean, I think you have to be able to see. Always you have to be able to see what's around you. Just go through all of your senses, and
please list all the senses.
Even if you
I love how Jen is now just ignoring me.
I'm sorry, I'm going to my next
Yeah, do it.
Even
Jen,
if you do, whether you do or don't actually physically touch your scene partner, you're going to have an opinion about whether you want to or whether you don't want to, or how that's going to feel. I mean, if I touched Ivan's hand, I'm sure it would have
just a cold, impersonal clamminess to it. Yeah.
I was thinking a longing, Ivan and I don't always agree on things, but he is,
that's why I wanted you on the show.
One of my very, very favorite people.
I love the idea. And it's funny because that actually is something I can do more. What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I feeling? And not just one thing. Like I'm hearing a restaurant. No. What are the plethora of things I might hear in the restaurant? And then how do I feel about all the things I'm hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, etc.? That's awesome. I love that, Jen.
And if you get a chance to go to a workshop or something, or a class where you can explore that kind of thing in a group, it's great because then you get inspired by other people's work, and it's really fun to do. I mean, it's acting should involve a love of playing, and if you watch children playing in different environments, there's a lot to be said for that.
I feel like that would maybe get me in trouble. But I take your point, and I think that's a beautiful way to kind of end off the episode is don't be afraid to play with environment. Don't be afraid to play. And actually, Michael Shurtleff talked about it in this chapter and in the following chapter where he says, you got to play with things. Don't decide things. Don't just say like, this is what it is. Play with the idea of location and play with the things you're smelling and have fun with it. And don't just pick one, pick many. And actually, before I know I said we're going to end, but this reminds me of another tactic that I would like to recommend to everyone. Rehearse in different locations. Don't practice in your living room all the time. Go for a walk and run your lines while you're walking. Sit in a park, children watching optional. And think and do your lines out loud. You know what I mean? Go to the kitchen. Practice your lines with someone else in the room. Practice your lines in a different room with a different person if possible. These are all ways that you can use location, not just to create a better performance, but to exercise the muscle and to train yourself to notice the different ways that you perform based on location. So with that, Madame Jennifer Vallance, any last words of wisdom that you want to leave the people?
I think we covered quite a bit, yeah. And hopefully it's inspired some people to explore themselves. And you have so much inside of you that's already there that you can draw on. You know, we're not blank pages. We're very three-dimensional people with all kinds of experiences to have more fun with.
See, this is why I love Jen. She says something and I keep wanting to end, but they're like, this is, and now I have to say something else because we've ended 3 times, Tim. I don't care, Tim. I don't care.
Just end it, damn it.
End it. Tim is like, we've passed 40 minutes. Listen, no, but you know what you said? This is another thing I want to bring on, and it's not about location, but it does apply. We perform one-dimensionally. So often
I think
when we're learning.
From my observations of, and you've done a lot of this in class too, my observation is that we get very hung up on getting the words right, which it is very important. But if you get hung up on it, then it's going to be much harder.
Yeah.
When you're more focused on how you feel about what's said or done to you, then you've got a scene.
Actually, what you might have is a little bit of game. And that's going to be the next chapter that we talk about. Is it Michael?
No way.
Game. Look at this segue. You see that, Tim? You see that?
I see it. Yeah.
Because that is literally how you feel and the thing, like how you affect towards the other person. That is literally what we're going to get on in the next episode. And we're going to have Jennifer Vallance come back. And in the next episode, just to kind of keep them thirsty, maybe we can get Jennifer Vallance to give us some tips and teach us how to do a little bit of accent. Right? Oh. Before we end off for today, Tim McClarty, the website is radiostudio.com. Studios.
No, just radioradio.com.
Radioradio.com. I'll get that eventually, Tim. Radioradio.com. For all your sound recording needs. Tim does recording in studio. He also has become very good at recording virtually. He is a voice actor and a production designer, so he can help you with everything, video and audio. Jennifer Vallance, if people want acting coaching or accent coaching, they can reach you at?
Find me Jennifer Vallance in Facebook, or I also have an Instagram and Twitter accounts. Or you can email me at jennyfantastic@live.com.
And we'll make sure to put those links into the show notes, as well as an IMDb link for Jennifer Vallance, so you can watch her on Designated Survivor, Season 2, Episode 7, as British person, or British dignitary, or English person, whatever that was. That's it, everybody. All right, you lazy actors. You're probably so lazy you weren't even washing your dishes while you were listening to this. You should have been multitasking. All right, everybody, that is it for The Lazy Actor. If you want to find out more about The Actor's Place, it's theactorsplace.org. We have a blog where we're publishing lots of interesting content about acting, answering all the questions we find on the internet that don't have answers, theactorsplace.org. That is it for The Lazy Actor. Thank you, Jennifer Vallance. Thank you, Tim McClarty. Thank you to me, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.